Hello, this is the Blonde Analyst, and today we are going to be going over how to import datasets from online into PostgreSql and also how to create tables. So the first thing that we're going to be going over is downloading datasets from online. So I use this website called Kaggle, and with Kaggle there's a whole bunch of datasets that you could go over and figure out whichever ones you find interesting. So the next one that I'm going to be using is this Amazon sales dataset. So it gives you some info on the dataset, some basic stuff. If you want to download it, you hit this button up here. It'll download it right here, and it'll bring you to this, where you will end up exporting this to your downloads, and here is your file. Now, as you can see, this is our database where we exported and we opened up the file. We have the order ID, the order date, ship date, etc. So we'll be able to work with this. As we could see, there are a lot of different types of information that we will end up going over. And then after we open up PostgreSql, we'll go to our servers and we'll make a new database and we'll call it Amazon. In which then we will go to our schemas, our tables, and we'll open up a query tool, because as you can see, we don't have any tables. But before we go on to create tables, let's go over the specific data that we could be putting into these tables. So the first thing that we have are integers. So we have small int, and big int, all ranging with different sizes in bytes, ranging from small int being 2 bytes to 4 to 8 for the big int. And with these different sizes in bytes, they could store different numbers. So small int ranges anywhere from negative to positive 32,000 about. Regular int is plus or minus around 2 billion, and big int is plus or minus 2 to the power of 63. So for an example, if we're just storing how far the average person walks, it wouldn't be anything more than 32,000 miles. So let's say we're storing 19 miles a day, 2 miles a day, 15 miles a day, small numbers, we could just store it as a small int to save size. Now if we're storing much larger numbers, like how many gallons are in a lake or and such, then we may have to start dealing with regular integers. And if we're dealing with ginormous numbers that are in the hundreds of billions, then that might be when we're gonna start switching to big int, like how many stars there are or how many grains of sand there may be in a certain area. That we might have to switch to a big int. The next thing that we have are strings. Now, strings are just a combination of numbers, letters, and special characters. So we have char and varchar, and it is of m. M could just be any number, whole number. Char just means it is a set number of characters, while varchar is a variable length. So for example, for char, we could have ABC, we could have 1, 2, 3, we could have up caret L parentheses, we could have dash MN, but all of them have to be the same letter of characters, and in this case M is equal to 3 because all of them are 3 characters wide, while varchar could be any length of characters. So it could be Apple, we could have a phone number 309 283 1089. We could have MN-0987. We could have ATL 25. It doesn't really matter as long as it is any variable length less than m. So in this case, we could have m equal to 20. And all of these are less than 20, so it will work just fine. So the next thing that we'll be going over are a set of three. We have blob, enum, and set. Blob is just for storing binary. Enum is short for enumerate. So this is to enumerate possible options for columns. For an example, if we're going to be storing clothes sizes, we could have X, S, S, M for medium, large, XL. So it's only going to be between these 5 options, so we could set it as enum. And for something like set, this is more for when we could choose more than one. So let's say like people's favorite genre. So we could choose rock, hip hop, classical, jazz, country, pop. So if someone has multiple options, they could choose, well, my favorites are rock and hip hop, but we know it's going to be between these options or a combination of such. So it would be saved as a set. Next thing that we have are for storing times. So we could either store a date, time, a timestamp, or the year. And this is more something that we may not need an example for, but for example, 2019, a timestamp is just a timestamp of, let's say, a card swipe time, like 3:30 p.m., and so forth. Now, as you can see, I ended up creating the table in which we have different types of data, such as something like varchar, dates. We have something called money, which is obviously very specific towards money. And for quantity, I ended up putting real instead of an integer because of the fact of the decimal point here. And the others I put varchar just because we have characters with altering lengths, and we have dates for the actual dates. Now we are going to end up executing, and as you can see, the query ended up successful, and we will hit this down arrow here, and if nothing ends up showing up, we will just end up refreshing here. Right click Amazon, hit refresh, and our table will end up coming up. And as you can see, we have all of our columns, and in order to input our data, we will end up right clicking here, import, and we will have our CSV file right here, in which we'll check the options, make sure that we have the header, and if we do not have it saved as a CSV file, we will just end up going to Excel here, go to File, hit Save As, and hit CSV, and hit Save. I already have mine saved. So after that, we will just end up hitting OK, and our process is actually complete. And just to check, we can right click, hit Query Tool, and we'll select star from Amazon, and if everything ended up turning up correctly, our entire data should come out. Perfect. So we have all of our columns and all of our rows, in which we will be able to perfectly filter out and display our data properly. Thank you so much. Have a nice one.